This is the typical Sunday morning loadout. That is a lot of stuff.
Let's try to be on stage in our positions, our post behind the scenes, and be ready to rock it at 6:30. Cool? Mm-hmm. Sweet, let's pray.
Fuller is a nasty bitch.
It's crazy, yeah.
And nasty is a good thing in this sense.
I hope it is.
Between this guy on the drums and this guy on the bass, it kills.
I am excited to play with you, Rodrigo.
I was going to get a tech tip from Dave, but Dave is busy. Throat coat is the essential morning drink. Where's Mario?
No.
1, 2, 3, believe!
We are, just tuning things up, getting all the tweaks made for our worship celebration.
So this is
and using good old PowerPoint.
teaching. You're using PowerPoint. You serious, Clark?
I'm serious. Trust me. I would use just about anything else if I could. There's one reason for that. You want to see the reason?
Yes, I do want to see the reason.
The reason is Pro Presenter will not let you do this.
They don't have any touch sensitivity for touch-sensitive monitors.
No.
So do we use PowerPoint?
Renewed Vision. If you could work on that, that'd be great. Love you guys.
Do we use PowerPoint for every Sunday?
Just for this plasma.
Just for this plasma.
Yeah.
And this stuff is all Pro Presenter.
Everything else is Pro Presenter.
But this plasma gets
because
PowerPoint.
of the touch capability.
Interesting.
There's a little Mac Mini.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to do touch, because actually this is one of the things that I probably get more emails than just about anything about, or we do. Mm-hmm. A lot of churches are looking to do touchscreen.
Yeah.
So this is a sharp.
It's cool for the pastor to be able to interact with the message.
Exactly. Doesn't matter what touchscreen TV you can get pretty much anything out there. Doesn't matter. A lot of people think it has to be a certain brand, certain features of the screen. It doesn't. Just has to have touch. So we're doing a Mac Mini on the back here.
Yeah.
Zip tied to and anchored in with a battery backup. So the reason for that is the Mac Mini stays here connected to the screen on black, so black when they're rolling it out.
I will say it's not battery. There's a power cable.
There is a power cable. The battery backup is simply to give us time to roll this out from backstage, bring it out here, plug it in to power, and then roll it back for the transitions.
30 minutes, right?
Exactly, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we have a wireless keyboard that connects to it so we can make changes from front of house if we need to.
I will not die. The resurrection power of Christ. Oh, praise the name of the Lord our God. Oh, praise His name forevermore.
Dave, I was watching Apple's keynote, and Apple Watch users are now going to have notifications pop up whenever the volume level of their environment becomes too loud, according to Apple. And this is the sound guy's worst nightmare.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you can't just put a force field right here. The booth.
You can hire a bouncer. Is what you can do.
I need that. That would be great.
So let's talk about how we measure volume.
It is a safety issue.
Yes.
And we want to make sure that, number one, we are not damaging people's hearing that are in our congregation. But we also want to make sure, too, that we're creating immersive environments where people feel like they're a part of what's happening on stage. A couple great tools that we use. Number one is called Smart. And so this is an industry standard piece of software, and it helps us measure frequencies across the spectrum. And so this is important because you don't want any frequencies to kind of get out of hand. And so many times when you have complaints and people saying that things are too loud, it's really just that something's too harsh. As audio engineers, it's our job to make sure that those mid-range frequencies, like 1K is a big one. 3.5K in that section is a lot of times very piercing and harsh. So you really want to smooth those things out, and it's different for every room, right? But this really helps us keep an eye on that.
And this
also,
this is an EQ spectrum analyzer.
This is a spectrum analyzer.
Where is this running? Is this a plugin that runs it on a computer? Is it in the board?
Yeah, so this software is running on a Mac Mini.
Okay.
And we have a microphone here. It's a DBX measurement mic that's going into a little audio card, which is feeding audio information into the computer.
And so this is showing you what this mic is picking up.
Exactly.
So it's actually listening to the room.
Correct.
That's important.
And this is a very good measurement mic. Much better than the iPhone.
What is that mic again?
This is a DBX. It's their drive rack measurement mic, but you can use any professional measurement mic that's on Sweetwater or any of those sites. The other thing we do is we use this great program called Trend to actually monitor the dB level. Now you can do it with Smart, but we like Trend a little bit more, and the reason for that is because we can set a range that we want to be within. So for us, it's between 97 and 100 dB. Okay. Now, a lot of people say 100 dB. Well, that will damage your hearing. It will damage your hearing, but it will damage your hearing if you have 100 dB going throughout a period of time. Okay, so it's dB over time that's important to measure, and the great thing is that Trend does that.
Is that software that's also running on the Mac Mini?
That is also running on the Mac Mini.
That's receiving data from that microphone.
Yes, I can't tell you exactly where to run it. In your room, it's different. You need to figure that out
Fuller and I talked about that.
with your pastor. You need to figure that out with your worship leader. Get a dB meter. Figure out what feels good to you guys. How long you're running worship. How long you're going to be exposing people to that level over time.
Dave, do you have a recommendation? Like if a church just wants, like, I see a handheld dB meter right over there.
That comes with Trend.
Well, that comes with Trend.
Yes.
But how about a church that doesn't have a computer hooked up to their board or whatever?
Yeah.
And they just want, do you have a recommendation for a dB meter that you can buy that's going to be accurate that they can use?
Yeah, I would say this is a great one. You can get this Galaxy Audio SPL meter. It's the CM170, but anything by Galaxy Audio is great. I wouldn't use your standard Amazon dB meter.
This video is not meant for us to teach you how to use a dB meter. Obviously, we didn't go into that.
Right.
You really need to spend time understanding, if you buy a piece of equipment, understand how to use it, what it's telling you, because you might have people who will have an app on their phone, and it'll say, they'll come up to you and say, "You're killing me, right? You're hurting us."
Did you see this, man?
Right. You need to have an objective measurement that is accurate.
The other thing that Trend does is it will actually record the data of your service. So if you have somebody that says, "Hey, this was too loud. This was, over what's safe parameters," you can actually go back and say, "Well, actually, this is the reality. This is the data. This is what it shows. This is where the numbers don't lie."
Dave, thanks so much for the info. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments.
When I am alone, oh, and when I am alone, and when I am alone, give me Jesus. Descended into darkness, you rose in glorious light, forever seated high. I believe in God our Father.
Fuller and I are going to talk about what to do when people complain that it's too loud.
If it hasn't happened to you, you probably either aren't a worship leader or you haven't been doing it very long. So get ready, because it will happen. Yeah, there's a lot of tips that we could probably give you to kind of manage this tension. And you have to understand, it is a tension, and it's not going away.
Yeah.
It's not something that one day you'll be done having that conversation.
Right.
It's a tension, like life, there are some things that are just tensions that you manage. And so we can give you some tips on how to manage that tension throughout your experience as a worship leader. I think the first thing you have to realize is anytime somebody approaches you with something that's bothering them, you should hear them out. Listen to people. If they have a concern, listen to them and hear them out. Now, the reality is, like for us, I know that if somebody comes to me and says it's too loud, I know all of the work we've done to measure it, manage it, and figure out what works for us. So I know that we're not going to turn it down. Even though I know we're not going to turn it down because we've done all the research, I'm still going to listen to someone. I'm still going to hear them because they're a human being with feelings.
Right.
Now, how I respond to that, this is where we get into some of our other tips.
Yes. You need a clear vision for what the music is going to, what the experience is going to look, feel, and sound like.
And also stylistically, what kind of music you do.
Yeah, and that will inform how loud it is.
Yes.
Right? And so you need to be able to, first of all, you need to be able to have your pastor have your back.
You guys have to be united. And that might be probably the trickiest part of this whole thing.
That's probably the first step for a lot of people.
It really is. It's
to have them talk about it.
Yeah, you need to figure out, well, I'd say the first step is probably get a decibel reader. And
learn how to use it.
Pick a rehearsal night and where you, as the sound person or the worship arts pastor, probably both, need to sit back there and just listen and feel it out and go, does this feel loud? Does it feel kind of obnoxious? And you also have to err on the side of it's probably too loud, right? Yeah. So like, musicians always want it loud, right? But you just ask yourself, does this hurt? Is this uncomfortable? Could I listen to this for 20 minutes? Not like 10 seconds of a riff, but like, could I listen? And then once you figure that out, that's when I would pull my pastor in and say, hey, we think it should be 98 decibels. Feels good in this room.
You see, I see a lot of questions on like
what decibel?
Facebook forums like, hey, what dB is your worship? And that's almost, there's value in knowing what other people do.
But it's a range.
But every room is going to sound different. And 98 decibels in one room sounds different than in a different room. And with one mixer or one mix sounds way different than another mix. So it really does need to be tailored to your room.
Yeah. Once you objectively find a number, you have to subjectively decide if that's the right number.
Right.
That's when you bring your pastor into a rehearsal, you stand in the back of the room and you go, what do you think? Does this feel too loud? And weigh your congregation too. So you have to weigh all that, decide all that, and you and your pastor have to go, yes, we agree, on average, normal circumstance, 98 peak feels really good.
Okay.
That means you might run it around 95, 96, 97, and then that peak, the loudest part of the song hits 98 and then dips back down. And once you figure that out, then you have the vision and the reason why you do what you do.
You also have backup.
So here would be tip number 3 is you figure out the decibel level subjectively, objectively with your pastor.
Yeah.
And then you cast that out to all of your sound guys and all of your worship leaders and all. This is what we're going to run.
Right.
And then that's the level you keep at. You monitor it every week, maybe even take charts, just jot down what the loudest you were that Sunday and just over time, especially if you have consistent people coming up saying it's too loud, it's good to actually put some spreadsheets together. For the last 8 weeks, this is what our volume's been at.
Yeah.
Because you need some backup. You need data to be able to have a healthy argument and to be able to defend yourself. So do those things. The next tip I would say is realize that it still might be too loud for some people. So what do you do with those people? There's several things.
Options,
there's several things you can do with those people. The most extreme thing you can do is just realize this might not be the best church for them.
Right.
Okay?
That comes back to the vision of the church.
Yeah.
Right.
You might have some people who just don't like loud music. And they're now if they're one of these people that are just diehard dialed into your church, they love the church, this is the church for them, then I would go with option number 2.
This with grace.
Yeah, I would approach it with option number 2. Sit down with them, explain why you do it the way you do. It's to reach people and to impact people, all those things, and then we offer earplugs to the people who absolutely can't take it, because the reality is there are some people that have super sensitive hearing. So 98 to them might just be too much. A lot of those people might actually skip worship and come in, which is not necessarily what you want. So we actually do, on request, if people complain about the sound, we'll give them those little cheap plastic earplugs that they can put in their ears to reduce the decibel level.
One last thing is, there are places in your room, every room will have places that are not as loud.
That's good.
Depending on where your speakers are, it's just, so spend some time, just play music in your room and walk around and you'll hear, like, there are some spots that are quieter, and then you can have an option for people who will really love to be there, but want to experience it a little quieter, they can say like, well, if you sit in this section. Let us know in the comments if you have experienced this. I'm sure many of you have.
No comments at all.
If you have experienced, if you've walked through this with people and you have some feedback or some insight to share with us, let us know. Dave was my implementation of Top Gun during the walkout playing. Was it too much?
It was absolutely breathtaking, Brad.